Hey guys, what's going on? It's Don here from Nova Spirit Tech and welcome back to the channel. And today I got a really cool project to show you guys, which is running Android on Docker. So let's get started. Now, a user by the name of Sick Codes on GitHub, I'll leave a link down in the description below, actually created Android for Docker, which is pretty cool. Now, he does have other projects as well, and one that I'm very interested in checking out, which is Mac OS on Docker. But first, I was actually really interested on running Android on Docker because it's a lightweight system, and it's something that I could actually run Android apps off of. I'm gonna leave a link down to the GitHub repo that we are gonna be using today, as well as his main GitHub repo, because it's actually he's got a lot of stuff going on. Now, I am going to be implementing this into my Pi host template as well. So by the time this video comes out, it should be on the AMD 64 version of the Pi template. So you should be able to just click and grab it. But there are some stuff that we need to do beforehand just to get it ready. Jumping into the desktop, as you can see, this allows you to run ARM apps on x86. There's ADB port, which is 555 if you need to do some ADB push and install apps. There's a few other things that you can do with this, which is GPU pass-through, audio forwarding, and a few other things. I do like that he did allow for screen copy. Now, screen copy is software that you can use for Android to clone the screen onto any desktop, and it actually runs pretty quick. Now, I'll leave a link to a video that I've done a review on, I think a couple of years ago, on screen copy, but I do like the option that is available. Now, the couple of things we do have to have installed beforehand, or the prerequisites, is QEMU, and he does have it for a few operating systems. You just really need to install QEMU and QEMU KVM and a few other things. Your host system have to have this, not the Docker itself, the host system. This way it provides the folder of /dev/kvm, which is something we need to run this Android for Dockers. Another thing is you do need to run this on a physical device. I've tried running this through another QEMU, which is Proxmox. Then I virtualized VM, then in there had a Docker, and it didn't work very well. So you do need to run this on a physical device. Maybe because I didn't pass through the virtualization through my QEMU, but that's another thing that I'll figure out. Now, there are two ways that you can run this, which is X11 forwarding, VNC. Now, either way is fine. I actually chose the VNC option, even though I will only lightly be on VNC because I'm going to be mostly using screen copy itself. But here you can just copy this code and transfer it over to your Docker server, and you should be fine with that. Now, I do have this Portainer running. This is actually the same device that I'm running my TDAR on, which is my Zima board. And I gotta tell you, I should make a second review for that device because that board is really good. I've been playing around with it for months now, and I've always relied on that board for a lot of these weird stuff that I need to test, because it has the PCIe option, it has SATA ports, it has everything that I need on a development computer, and it's exposed, so it just works out very easily. Now, I'm gonna SSH over to that board, and I am just gonna copy and paste the command that is running. Let me make this a little bit bigger. One thing that I am gonna change, there's two things actually. You can leave it as default, but you could either turn on and off the password. If you turn on the password, you have to run an extra command as soon as it boots up to change the password to whatever you want. But if you leave it off, you don't have to do that extra command, and it'll just jump right into the VNC. So I'm gonna just keep it off. It's up to you. If you leave it on, as soon as it powers on, it actually tells you have to run this command right here. Let me scroll down a little bit. It is, where is that? Not here, not here. Oh, right here, change VNC password user. Like, you have to run this command as soon as it boots up for the first time, just so you could create the password file. So I'm just gonna leave it off, and I'm gonna run that. Now, it shouldn't take that long for me because I already pre-downloaded all the files, so it should just be pretty quick. All right, so after running that command, you should see it start. Since I am not running it as a daemon or behind the process, you will see some stuff come up on the terminal, which is fine. As soon as I Control-C, it will close off the thing. But if you are using password, you could see now I have a command prompt on the bottom that says QEMU. This is where you would type in the command where it's change VNC password, WD, I think, right? Password right here. Password user. That's where you would change it right here. It's gonna give me an error because I don't have password. but that's what you would do at this point. So if you're not using password, you don't have to worry about it. But next up, since we are done with this, all we have to do is just run the VNC. And I am gonna go to 105, 135, and the port is 5999. And I'm gonna run VNC for this. You could use whatever software you're using. I'm just using Remina, and we should be able to get what we need. And here we go. This is booting Bliss OS, which is an actual operating system that you could download, an ISO file that you could download and load into your Proxmox. But this is loaded through QEMU from the Docker system itself. Now, there is an option to install this when you first boot. I kind of missed it because I was showing you the password thing. But when it first boots, it will actually have a grub saying, do you want to run this without install or run it with install? Now, I don't have persistency, meaning if I just run it like this, the way it is right now, whatever install, whatever files that I download, it won't be saved later in the future. So you do want to install it into the system. But since I missed that part, we're just going to jump into it where it's the non-persistent system. Bliss OS was designed for installing on desktop, so you do have a couple of options available as far as launchers go. As soon as it boots up, I will show you what I'm talking about. And here we go. This is the desktop. It is running a little bit slow on my Zima board. It is not, I don't have enough resources allocated for it, and the board is not super fast in itself. But there are two modes here that I was just saying, the launcher option, desktop mode or lawn chair. You could use desktop mode if you're using it just like I am, and I could just do always for this. And because I'm on VNC, it's not super quick. The X11 forwarding is a lot much faster. But at least if you use the desktop mode or you're trying to test something, this does work. You can install apps on here. But yes, it has a little start menu. When you have applications, it will load up on the bottom. I'm not going to review the operating system itself because that's a whole different dynamic. But just to get Android working on your Docker, it works perfectly fine. I do have little issues like that if I was to run it and it just like turns off. But I am able to, like, say, run Firefox. Another thing you do need to note that when you do start up, again, read his GitHub. It gives you all the descriptions. But there is going to be no internet unless you jump onto the private Wi-Fi that it creates. So you're going to have to hit the Wi-Fi icon. Something's going to come down right here, and it says Vert Wi-Fi. Connect to that, which will connect your network itself. There's no password for this. It just connects, and then now you have internet. And if you want to run Firefox, here you go. I'm going to just go to novaspirit.com. I think this is the one to make it full screen. No, that's the settings. That's the other icon. I'm not used to this icon because I don't use the desktop mode enough, but you can full screen here. And here you go. It's loading my little website. Obviously, it's actually using a lot of resources. I think the image alone takes 2 gigs. So I'm going to go check this out. If I hit image, it takes 2.2 gigs for the image itself. Go back into the container. I'm going to look at the stats. It's using roughly about 5 gigs of RAM. CPU usage is pinning my CPU. It's 400%, which is using all the cores right now. All right, now it's settling down right over here. So that means things have loaded. But as you can see, this image definitely takes a lot of resources, especially this 5 gigs of RAM, which tops off almost my board itself. It's 8 gigs, but I do have a few things running. So 5 gigs of RAM and a lot of CPU usage when booting up does take a lot of resources. Again, this is for experimental purposes. If you guys are interested in running Android on your Docker system, you definitely can. And obviously, if you are going to do this, I recommend installing it into the operating system. It will run a lot smoother than running it off the live boot session. Anyway, that is it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this Android on Docker. I apologize. I am under the weather a little bit, so I am having a hard time filming this, and I am cutting it a little bit short. But as soon as I get back to myself, I will be checking out the other operating system, which is OS X on Docker. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing and also hit that bell notification icon so you know when the next video is going to be out. And as I say in my nerd cave, hack till it hurts.